The top stories tonight in Y News. The eye of Typhoon Odette has now made several landfalls in the country while maintaining its strength. The government, meanwhile, assures that all hands are on deck and executing necessary responses to affected communities.
The Department of Health has identified co-passengers of the country's first two cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant, but not all are considered as close contacts by the Department of Health.
Nearly 1 million Filipinos were vaccinated on the first day of the second Bayanihan Bakunahan on December 15, according to the Department of Health, despite the postponement of several typhoon-hit areas.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, December 16, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Pio.
Typhoon Odette has maintained its strength while traversing parts of Visayas and Mindanao. In its 5 p.m. bulletin, the State Weather Bureau Pagasa said the center of Odette was located in the vicinity of Liloan, Southern Leyte, where it made its third landfall. And it has maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 270 kilometers per hour while moving westward at 30 kilometers per hour. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 4 is raised over southern Leyte, the southwestern portion of Leyte, Bohol, central and southern portions of Cebu, central and southern portions of Negros Oriental, central and southern portions of Negros Occidental, Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, including Siargao and Bucas Grande Islands. Meanwhile, signal number 3 is placed over the rest of southern portion of Leyte, the northern portion of Cebu, the rest of Negros Oriental, Siquijor, the northern portion of Negros Occidental, Guimaras, the southern portion of Iloilo, southern portion of Antique, northern portion of Agusan del Norte, and the northern portion of Surigao del Sur. Signal number 2, meanwhile, is raised over Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate, including Ticao and Burias Islands, Romblon, Oriental Mindoro, Occidental Mindoro, mainland Palawan, including Kalayaan, Balabac, Cuyo, and Calamian Islands, northern and eastern Samar, Biliran, the rest of Leyte, Cebu, Negros Occidental, and Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, the rest of Antique, Surigao del Sur, Agusan del Sur, Agusan del Norte, extreme northern portion of Zamboanga del Norte and Zamboanga del Sur, Misamis Occidental, northern portion of Lanao del Norte, Misamis Oriental, Camiguin, northern portion of Bukidnon and Lanao del Sur. While signal number 1 is placed over Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Marinduque, southern portion of Quezon, Batangas, northern portion of Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro and Davao del Norte, the rest of Bukidnon, Lanao del Norte and Lanao del Sur, the rest of northern portion of Zamboanga del Norte and Zamboanga del Sur, and the northern portion of Zamboanga Sibugay. Odette made its 4th landfall in the vicinity of Padre Burgos in southern Leyte at 5:40 p.m. today. On the forecast track, Odette will continue moving westward and will cross several provinces in central and western Visayas regions before emerging over the Sulu Sea tomorrow morning. The typhoon is expected to cross the northern or central portion of Palawan tomorrow afternoon or evening before emerging over the West Philippine Sea. Odette may weaken as it crosses Visayas and Palawan, but it is forecast to remain as a typhoon.
Several areas are facing the onslaught of Typhoon Odette after it made landfall in Surigao del Sur today. Homes in Caraga region are flooded while roads are blocked due to the heavy rainfall and strong winds brought by Typhoon Odette. Over 20,000 families have been evacuated, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council reports. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte assures the national government is ready to provide an immediate response. Eileen Cerudo reports.
Netizens shared videos showing strong winds and heavy downpour brought by Typhoon Odette. In Barangay Campomanay, Tabon-Tabon, Sibagat, Agusan del Sur, 2 houses were carried away by a strong current. A house in Butuan City was almost destroyed due to Typhoon Odette, while a 3-day-old baby was rescued after flood levels reached chest deep in Barangay Libertad, Butuan City. The family are already taking shelter in the evacuation center. Several roads in areas affected by Typhoon Odette are impassable. Roads are either blocked by flood or uprooted trees. According to the Office of the Civil Defense, as of 3 p.m. earlier today, a total of 20,888 families or 78,290 individuals have been evacuated. The National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council also reports 3,891 passengers, 1,745 rolling cargos, 22 vessels, and 3 motorbangkas are stranded in Calabarzon, Regions 1, 5, 8, and the Caraga region. Travel in 36 ports are temporarily suspended due to the weather. However, 10 of these ports resumed operations. Rescue operations and evacuation are still ongoing. The agency also reported no casualties or injuries. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte assures the government is on top of the situation amid the typhoon onslaught. During the ceremonial unveiling program of the new MRT-7 train sets in Quezon City, Duterte said local government units are already preparing for their emergency relief response. He also reminds to be vigilant and ensure the people in areas affected by the typhoon are safe.
We are closely monitoring through our various government agencies the movement of Typhoon Odette over this country at present. We have undertaken all necessary precautions, pre-positioned resources, and closely coordinated with the localities to prepare for immediate emergency and relief response. Still, we must remain watchful and careful of developments. Let us ensure that our people in the areas of the path of the typhoon will be safe and well.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health has identified the passengers who were considered as close contacts of the country's first 2 cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant. The Health Department, however, does not consider all passengers as close contacts. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Health spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara explains that based on the epidemiologic identification, close contacts in planes are the passengers seated 4 rows in front, left, right, and behind the positive case. She also assures all passengers on board with the 2 Omicron variant cases have undergone and completed their quarantine and have tested negative for COVID-19. She said there is only 1 close contact of the returning overseas Filipino from Japan. His close contact had a negative RT-PCR test released last December 4. They were on board the Philippine Airlines flight PR0427.
So you may be wondering why there is only 1 close contact for our 48-year-old male from Japan. It was because he was seated in a business class and it was just 1 passenger with him in this business class section.
Case number 2, the 37-year-old Nigerian national who arrived from Nigeria on November 30 via Oman Air flight number WY843 had 7 close contacts.
As per the Bureau of Quarantine, 6 out of the 7 close contacts had negative test results and have completed facility quarantine. The last is currently being verified as to test results. The reason why there were just 7 close contacts because the foreign national sat at the very end of the plane. So we only counted those in front of him and on his side.
The samples of the Omicron cases will again be collected today for their repeat RT-PCR tests. They are still both isolated and are asymptomatic. The health department still calls on the co-passengers of the Omicron cases to continue self-monitoring. Once they manifest symptoms, they have to coordinate with the DOH and their LGUs for proper COVID-19 response. Meanwhile, the DOH said they still see no reason to escalate the country to alert level 3 based on the metrics used to monitor the Philippines' COVID-19 situation. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health opposes the proposed imposition of travel restrictions in countries with confirmed cases of Omicron variant. Janice and Henta explains why live. Yes, Janice, good evening.
Good evening, Harleen. Department of Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere explains the aspect of health and economy should be balanced. Vergere is not in favor with the proposal of health advocate Dr. Tony Liachan to impose a total travel ban to prevent transmission of the new variant of coronavirus.
Sa ngayon, it is not rational for us to close our borders to countries na meron lang kahit isa. And usually, ito pong mga bansang meron lang kahit isa na mga Omicron, kahit isa lang doon, usually mga imported cases po ito. Ang pinaka-importante, maisara po natin ang ating border sa mga bansa na merong local transmission. Ibig sabihin, kumakalat na po yung sakit sa kanilang bansa.
There are 8 countries and territories under the Philippines Red List due to high incidence of COVID-19. This include Andorra, France, Monaco, Northern Mariana Islands, Reunion, San Marino, South Africa, and Switzerland. Travelers from these areas will be prohibited from entering the country starting December 16 to 31. Harley, the DOH again emphasized that the implemented quarantine, isolation, and testing protocols in the country are based on scientific studies, have concrete evidence, and was approved by health experts from technical and advisory group. Back to you, Harley.
Thank you, Janice and Henta, reporting live from Quezon City.
The National Capital Region Police Office warns the arrest and detention of persons who are extremely violating the government's health protocols. Leah Ilagan reports why.
The National Capital Region Police Office will implement a stricter observance of health protocols amid the Omicron variants recorded in the country. NCRPO Director, Police Major General Vicente Danao Jr. says they will arrest those who will not follow health protocols if necessary.
We'll just keep on reminding them, except lang siguro, pag yung tao ay talagang matigas ang ulo, kapag may mga matigas ang ulo kuminsan may mga lasing, ayaw gamit ng siguro, except for instances that they really need to be apprehended.
Danao adds NCRPO personnel were now deployed in places of convergence for security and to implement stricter health protocols.
Although we are on the alert level 2 ng pandemic, sabi ko nga, hindi po magsasawa ang ating kapulisan sa pag-i-implement ng minimum health protocol. So kung makikita ninyo, lalong-lalo na sa mga mataong area, Victoria, Baclaran, at any areas of convergence will be implemented strictly.
Danao is also in favor of raising the pandemic alert level next month.
We have to remember that the upcoming first quarter of 2022, yan na yung 6th month ng ating vaccination or in the immunity of a person is waning down. Okay, kaya nga sabi ko nga, dapat nga mas mag-ispito tayo next year. Kasi we don't want to happen dito sa Pilipinas. Yung nangyayari sa ibang bansa, na after 6 months or almost a year of vaccination, biglang nagla-lockdown ulit. So, kaya nga dapat mas maging mapagmatsyag tayo by next year at mas maging pusus.
NCRPO reminded the public to wear face masks and observe physical distancing all the time. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippines today logged 289 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,837,016. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 10,095. Of these cases, 3,870 are mild, 3,442 are moderate, 1,845 are severe, 549 cases have no symptoms and 389 are in critical condition. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 2,776,425 after 380 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths, however, climbed to 50,496 with 47 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on December 14, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 272,231,339, while the deaths have surged to 5,330,181, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is still the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 50,374,552 and 802,511 respectively. In terms of infections, however, India follows with 34,718,602 cases and 476,478 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 617,271 fatalities. The first day of the second round of Bayanihan Bakunahan results to almost 1 million total vaccinations despite several regions postpone their massive vaccination due to Typhoon Odette. JP Nunez reports why live. Yes, JP, good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, William, good evening. The country reaches a total of 953,624 vaccinated individuals on the first day of second round of national vaccination days.
While ang concentration natin ay NCR, CAR 1, 2, 3, and 4A, may mga iba't ibang rehiyon din na tumuloy na kanilang pagbabakuna.
Department of Health Undersecretary Mirna Cabotaje said Calabarzon, Central Luzon, and Ilocos region were the top performing regions. 187,000 total vaccinations was reported from Calabarzon, 168,000 in Central Luzon, and 66,000 from Ilocos region. National Vaccination Operations Center said the country is still on track to achieve at least 7 million of its target vaccination, including those regions which will start next week. In a separate briefing, Testing Czar Secretary Vince Dizon said the data released by NVOC today is only partial report and not the complete figure. NVOC explains that vaccination program still faces challenges from Filipinos still choosing their COVID-19 brand preference.
Yung sa booster, especially, no? Kasi sa booster, pinayagan natin na mamili yung mga magpapabooster na kanilang mga bakuna. But dun sa mga ibang first dose at second dose, sana kung ano ang available na bakuna, yun na rin ang kunin nila. So meron tayong Sinovac, AstraZeneca, at saka Sputnik V. And then later on, they can have the booster of their choice after 6 months for the 2-dose vials, and after 3 months yan.
In a vaccination rollout in Marikina City, some residents prefer Pfizer brand, but since LGU has limited supply of vaccines, they have decided to receive another brand of COVID-19 vaccines.
Medyo late ako na bakunahan kasi medyo iniisip ko pa kung ano yung vaccine na okay para sa akin. So before parang ang sa akin kasi is Pfizer kasi karamihan parang yun yung gusto eh. Pero I think naman kasi depende pa rin yun naman sa katawan ng tao na magre-receive ng vaccine. So ayun, nung available naman yung Sinovac, kinuha ko na siya.
Bali yung ano ko talaga is Pfizer but wala eh. Kaya napabakuna na lang ako ng AstraZeneca. Kailangan natin mapabakuna kahit alam kung ano yung meron. Kaya no choice ako, nagpabakuna na lang ako ng AstraZeneca.
Yung Pfizer, gusto nila dahil sabi nila ay mag-abroad sila, hindi raw tatanggap yung ibang brand kapag hindi lang Pfizer. So, inaano namin sa pag nagka-available pa ng Pfizer, doon po sila tatawagan para magbabakuna ng Pfizer.
Meanwhile, an all-time high single-day delivery of 10.4 million doses of different brands of COVID-19 vaccines arrived in the country yesterday as Omicron cases were detected in the Philippines. Among them are AstraZeneca, Moderna from COVAX facility, Janssen, and Pfizer. William, National Task Force Against COVID-19, said recent arrival of vaccines will be used on the 3-day national vaccination days. That is our latest live. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Quezon City.
The Philippines Vaccine Expert Panel would recommend a shorter interval between the second COVID-19 vaccine dose and the booster shot. Rosa Licos will tell us why.
From the current 6 months, the government wants to shorten the interval between primary and booster shots to 3 to 4 months. According to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, if the necessary adjustments will be made immediately, it can be implemented within the week.
We are going to do a via ad referendum approval of this once the FDA makes the necessary revision of the EUA. Then the IATF will just confirm this.
So possible within the month?
Oh yeah, no, within the week, hopefully.
Okay.
No, I'll try to push it for today and tomorrow.
The shorter vaccine interval will apply to all COVID-19 vaccine brands approved for use as a booster. However, the Department of Health said it may issue its recommendation on the shortened interval by year-end or early part of 2022.
I already spoke to the head of the vaccine expert panel. Her name is Dr. Nina Gloriani. Yesterday, she told me that they will officially recommend a 3 months interval between the second dose and the booster dose. What used to be 6 months, but in 3 to 4 months interval between the second and booster dose.
While isinalang na yan, naaralin ng mga yan, so hopefully by the end of the year or early next year, meron na tayong recommendations from our experts.
Health experts previously recommended shortened interval between administration of booster shots and second dose of primary series of COVID-19 jabs only for immunocompromised individuals. Meanwhile, amid the threat of Omicron variant, the government has vigorously appealed to the public to get vaccinated and adhere strictly to public health standards.
Disiplina natin lahat yan bilang Pilipino. No, wag nating iaasa lahat sana sa gobyerno na lang, no? Kailangan yung paglaban sa COVID, responsibilidad nating lahat yan. Matakot tayo dito sa Omicron. Siguro naman, ayaw nating ma-ospital ngayong Pasko o ngayong bagong taon.
Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Vice President Leni Robredo appeals to the Commission on Elections to allow the continuous programs of Office of the Vice President even during the campaign period. Meanwhile, Senator Manny Pacquiao wants to prioritize the establishment of national broadband infrastructure. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
Presidential aspirant Senator Manny Pacquiao said that his administration will prioritize the establishment of reliable national broadband infrastructure and adopt measures to compel internet service providers to increase their coverage and network bandwidth. He swore that once elected, he would make sure that ISPs should be able to deliver the bandwidth that they promised to their subscribers.
Nagreklamo naman yung iba na mahal yung singil tapos hindi ganun ka-ganda yung service nila. So, ayop na makorek na mabaguhin nila, i-improve nila yung internet signal para hindi mahirapan yung mga nagtatrabaho o mga bata na nag-aaral.
Pacquiao is now in Davao City. Vice President Leni Robredo and her team are preparing a petition that would allow the Office of the Vice President to continue its COVID-19 response programs even during the campaign period. In an ambush interview, Robredo was asked if the OVP has programs to counter the newly emerging Omicron variant. The Vice President said they will continue with their COVID-19 response programs so their private sector partners can continue helping them. She said the only problem they see is she is the head of the OVP but will be running in the elections. By February 8, in the official campaign period, they will submit a petition requesting that they be allowed to continue the office's programs. The Omnibus Election Code bars the release of public funds for all kinds of public works so that the government programs would not be used for what they called electioneering. The same provision, however, also states that law allows certain programs such as emergency work due to calamities and social welfare activities amid disasters to continue even during of the campaign period. The tandem of Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Doc Willie Ong, together with the 3 senatorial aspirants of the Acción Democrático, visited Antipolo City today. If elected president, Moreno said his first priorities will be to provide the minimum basic needs of the people like housing, education, and employment in order to them to weather the impacts of the pandemic.
We must learn how to live with COVID-19 and go back to work safely. Palakasin natin ang usaping pagkalusugan. Tapos ako naman, makapag-focus, makapag-bukas ng oportunidad at hanap buhay. Tuloy ang kabuhayan.
Meanwhile, presidential aspirant Leody de Guzman and his running mate Walden Bello condemned the alleged violent dispersal of striking workers in Valenzuela City.
Pinara sila, may mga sinuntok sa tiyan, may mga pinagyakan, may mga pinalo. Pagkatapos noon ay pinag-aresto sila at sinakay papunta doon sa station.
Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian in his tweet said the City Hall does not condone the actions of the Valenzuela police on this matter and the City Hall disowned the said unilateral action of the police. Other presidential aspirants like Senators Panfilo Lacson and Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos have no reported public engagement. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or Comelec Second Division, is expected to decide over a COC cancellation case against former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. in the coming days. Dante Amento tells us why live. Yes, Dante, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. In an order promulgated by the Comelec Second Division last December 13, the poll body has ordered the petitioners and respondent to file their respective memorandum over a petition to cancel presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s Certificate of Candidacy, or COC. Both parties were given 5 days to submit their memorandum or response upon receipt of the order, after which the case is deemed submitted for resolution, or the commissioners in charge will decide whether or not Marcos should be allowed to run in 2022 elections. The COC cancellation case was filed by human rights group defenders, represented by former Supreme Court spokesman Attorney Duterte. The petitioners confirmed they received the order, but the Marcoses' camp has yet to respond. Meanwhile, the petitioners plea for the Comelec to summon BIR and Quezon City RTC for the release of documents of the alleged non-payment of taxes and filing of income tax returns by Marcos was denied. The poll body also rejected Marcos's camp request for face-to-face oral arguments on the case. The Comelec explains clarificatory hearing and the addition of more evidence are not longer necessary, and this would only result to unnecessary delay for the resolution of the case. William, there are currently 7 petitions against Marcos before the poll body, including 4 petitions for disqualification, 2 petitions to cancel COC, and 1 petition seeking to declare Marcos as nuisance candidate. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you. Dante Amento reporting live, Quezon City.
On its last session day, the Senate passes on third and final reading a bill seeking to mandate the registration of subscriber identity module or SIM cards. 22 senators voted in favor of the measure. Senate Bill 2395, or the SIM Card Registration Act, aims to eradicate the criminal activities aided by mobile phone, internet, and other electronic communication devices such as terrorism, text scams, bank fraud, and disinformation. Under the bill, all telecommunication entities will now require the registration of SIM cards for new buyers, while all existing SIM card subscribers with active services shall register with their respective telcos within a year from effectivity of the law. Failure to register within the prescribed period will authorize the telcos to automatically deactivate or retire the SIM card number. The House of Representatives passed its version of the bill last December 6.
President Rodrigo Duterte unveils the new train sets of Metro Rail Transit Line 7. In his speech, the chief executive assures the completion of the MRT 7 project even beyond his term. Asher Kadapan Jr. will give us the details live. Yes, Asher, go ahead.
Dago President Rodrigo Duterte emphasizes the significant benefits of the Metro Rail Transit Line 7 project as he inspects the brand new train sets that have already been delivered in the country. The over 20-kilometer rail line will link North Avenue, Quezon City, and San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, reducing travel time from the present 2 to 3 hours to just 35 minutes. Once completed, it is expected to accommodate around 300,000 passengers daily in its first year of operations. It also aims to decongest Metro Manila and strengthen connectivity and mobility among cities in the National Capital Region and adjacent areas.
The MRT project will provide the public with fast, efficient, convenient, safe, and reliable transportation system that would result in the increased productivity of workers and businesses in Metro Manila and its nearby provinces.
The construction of the MRT 7 currently stands at an overall progress rate of about 62%. 18 rail cars or 6 train sets have already been delivered in the country for the said project. These new train cars are part of the 108 rail cars or 36 train sets manufactured in South Korea. The chief executive boasts of the delivery of the trains and the continuous progress of its construction as proof of the administration's strong commitment in completing critical infrastructures despite the challenges brought about by the pandemic.
Let us fulfill our promise and commitment to the entire nation to accomplish sustainable project that will continuously improve the lives of Filipinos even beyond the term of the President.
Diego, the MRT 7 is targeted for partial operations with test runs starting in April 2022 and passenger operations in December next year. Diego.
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., reporting live from Quezon City.
And for the news abroad, new research suggests that the new COVID-19 variant Omicron thrives more in the airways than in the lungs. Mavian Dog will tell us why live. Good evening, Maeve. Please go ahead.
Marielle, it was recently found that Omicron multiplies itself 70 times more quickly in tissues lining airway passages and 10 times more slowly in lung tissues compared to the earlier Delta variant. This means easier transmission of the virus from person to person, but also contributing to a less severe illness. According to Dr. Michael Chan Chi-Wai of Hong Kong University, however, the severity of disease is not only determined by virus replication, but also by a person's immune response. He further added that the recent findings show Omicron withstanding some antibodies and gripping cells more tightly, suggesting that the threat from the new variant is likely to be very significant. A formal report of the research is still under peer review and would still need to be verified with real-world samples. Researchers, however, are hoping that the initial release would enable a faster response from the global community. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Maven Dog, reporting live from Australia. Singapore announced its plans of changing the definition of a fully vaccinated individual. RK Llorca tells us why live. Yes, RK, go ahead.
Marielle, reports of Omicron infections prompted the Singapore government to mandate a third shot as the new variant exposes weakness in the world's current strategy. Having a third dose or a booster shot is soon going to be the new fully vaccinated status in Singapore. Their health minister said they will also introduce a validity period, which means citizens will lose their fully vaxxed status after a period of time, but hasn't decided yet on how long the validity period may last.
We need to treat COVID-19 primary vaccination as a 3-dose regime. And our policies need to be geared towards that we all need to take our boosters. Because with waning protection, full vaccination status cannot last perpetually.
The start date of administering booster shot has not been declared yet. Meanwhile, citizens who received their 2-dose shot are still free to move through the city. Only less than 20% of its population are restricted from entering establishments, as Singapore's vaccination rate is the highest in the region. Marielle, meanwhile, more countries are looking into getting a booster jab as part of their vaccination strategy over reports of Omicron variants spreading across the globe. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, RK Llorca, reporting live from Thailand. In other news, Caroline Kennedy, daughter of the former U.S. President John F. Kennedy, has been nominated for her second high-profile diplomatic position of being the next U.S. ambassador to Australia, which had been left vacant earlier this year. Kennedy's nomination will still need to be confirmed by the Senate, but many believe that she will bring deep political networks as well as keen understanding in the Indo-Pacific region. She previously served as the first female U.S. ambassador to Japan under former President Barack Obama in 2013 to 2017. The U.S. Embassy in Canberra said the office is delighted by the news, and Ms. Kennedy stated that she looks forward to collaborating with the government of Australia to strengthen the alliance between the two countries. The proposal to start using non-binary gender X on a UK passport has been rejected by the United Kingdom's top court. Paul Gatalian will tell us the details live. Yes, Paul, good evening.
Ariel, to preserve and protect the legal system, which was based on the clear distinction between male and female, the United Kingdom unanimously decided on Wednesday to reject the appeal to implement gender-neutral passports. One of the reasons behind this was that there was no violation against the applicant, Christy Ellen Kane, adding that there is also no pre-existing legislation that recognizes non-gendered individuals, but only laws that consider people as male or female. This decision, however, was called out by Christy Ellen Kane and fellow campaigners, labeling it as demeaning, dehumanizing, and insulting to be forced a gender on documentation. Ellen Kane proceeded to state that there is no justice in the United Kingdom as an individual who has been trying since 1995 to alter the gender marker on their passport to the X symbol. Furthermore, the judgment of the United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled out that there has never been an instance where Christy Ellen Kane was harassed whilst using a passport with the F marker for female, noting that there was no discrepancy with visual appearance with the F marker in their passport. The case is now moving forward to Strasbourg European Court of Human Rights. Marielle?
Thank you, Paul Gatalian, reporting live from New Zealand. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza, reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
A single mother and her daughter in Ghana receive items and capital to start a small business with from Members Church of God International. Nina Armilio has the story.
Emmanuel Agbanyo, a fisherman in Tema, Greater Accra, Ghana, Africa, used to get irritated whenever his neighbor, Marinaa, asks from him some fish to sell. But now he feels sorry for the old woman instead. It has been 10 years since Mary's husband passed away. She now lives with her only daughter, who already has children of her own. Together, they sell fish and boiled eggs or whatever products they can afford to sell.
na sika so nyo na ka sika so won ma kan de oton dudu be gu won ma obetima tom na first na me tonu me tonu box ni to ba sisi aska ni on nti because fa ni kakla me tom wi a week na masa ko fa kakla na ma tom.
Mary also works as a street sweeper. But even if she works her fingers to the bone, their income is still not enough to feed themselves and spend for other daily needs. Mary and Grace are willing to put their noses to the grindstone, but they don't have capital to begin a small business with. They just want to end asking for fish to sell from other people.
Scanning yonti. I'm saying some bit my boy and dear. Mita which you saw with my boy. Yeah. Say Bibi say scow. Say and there one haunting. Then wait me dear boy. Some in your business. In business now saying cushion. Come with scan come up to box no abesio na matom ni kakla.
Then came a day when Members Church of God International visited Mary and Grace's family to surprise them with gifts. Fish, eggs, and other products. Everything is for them to sell and earn money from. Plus, grocery items and food for themselves to last for several days from the MCGI free store.
Oh my God, I saw him in my yard. I need to mean I cry my yard one. I saw him crying, I saw him my yard one. I've been.
That was up where I sent to your best home. Nay, nay, see, they did not. Yeah, they did. Nay, they did. I was reading to Amen. And then so what, Mama, I saw it for. So I want a solid form. At Nananti Abbey beside Yama, a person. Ah, yes, if I dream down some good to my Banyakupa, don't it? Mobile, Mobile, and I might. Sinakupon shram, no shall solid force. So why are dear my oh, do by Amen.
Thanks be unto God for another good work Members Church of God International has carried out. With help and mercy from the Lord, MCGI will continue threading the path of goodness and reach out to those in need, no matter the race and color, because MCGI cares.
Before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 28, it says, "And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." And those are the reasons behind the news, December 16, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.